She's coming. She's warming it up.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We're going to get started very soon. Just bear with us, please. Shukran.
Walaikum assalam. Let's go.
Right. Let me know when you're ready, Mubarak.
Inshallah. All right. I guess I'm as ready as we're gonna get. Inshallah.
All right. Go ahead and open this up.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. تفضل brother.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to the R2F show. If you're with us for the first time, we're a show where we talk about spiritual abuse, deviant practices and beliefs inside the Ummah. And our goal is to have people return to the Fitra, hence the acronym R2F, return to Fitra. This is a weekly show that we do to talk about various topics related to spiritual abuse. What we do is we take our experiences from dealing with a spiritually abusive cult sect in Islam and use it to try to help other people escape those same circumstances. We would just like to start with a disclaimer. We're not doing any interviews today, but we have done the interviews in the past. And we just want to make sure that everybody knows. We'll get a more official disclaimer once we move on, but we do not necessarily agree with all the statements and positions that are taken by our guests on our show. It is a live show, and we cannot control exactly what people say. And we allow people to come tell their stories from their perspective. That does not mean we are certifying the truthfulness of what is being said. We try our best to our ability, or we do our best to try to make sure everything is truthful, and we try to vet everything. But there's only so much that we can do. So I just want to put that out there. So this week there's a bunch of stuff that we have to actually talk about, but there's some logistical or some stuff I have to take care of first. Our last week's show we had on Saturday we had an interview in which we talked about inappropriate divorce that wasn't handled the correct way, and some of our listeners had brought up the issue that it may have been suggested that the sister involved was committed adultery, or that I had used the word forced, which I didn't really mean forced. So I just want to put some clarifications. We did not mean to imply that the lady was committing adultery or anything like that. And also, when I used the words of forced, I was talking more so as that she was, I would say, pushed towards a certain way, but she apparently, according to her testimony, she wanted a divorce. It just wasn't handled according to the Quran and the Sunnah. And as far as who she married who she wanted. So I wanted to put that clarification out there. So that's done. And then I don't know which topic to go into first, but I think we need to make something very clear. And Mubarak can chime in when he feels the need. But a situation was brought to us by some individuals that, and it came from some of the stuff that was revealed last week's interview on with MJ. And there's an individual, and I forget his name, but he was on the run. And I'm going to get his name right now, but he was on the run, and he actually ran to Pakistan, and he was in Pakistan for the last 30 years. And I'm just going to get his name real quick. Hold on. His name is Brother Amin. He was involved in some crimes in America, and he was, went on a run, hidden in Pakistan, and he's been over there for the last 30 years. Now, what the problem with this is that he has 9 children. Someone needs to mute.
Hold on.
There we go.
I got you.
Yeah, so he has 9 children. That he's been in Pakistan. His children, for the most they know, he's just been in there on the run and hiding. And at one retreat, when one of his children had the chance to talk to Mubarak Gillani, she actually asked about her father, and it caused some awkwardness. And they were actually told that their father was dead. And there's been a lot of different discrepancies as far as whether their father is dead or alive, because it's also been told by people that are close to administration that actually was a lie, that their father is still alive, even to the point that there was a picture circulating around that was recent where the father, this Brother Amin, was in the background. So, but the problem is that you have somebody in Tmoa back in the early days which is confirmed now, it is a fact, that Mubarak Gillani was ordering people to commit crimes, kill people, assassinate people. And this is one of these individuals that was doing this, and he went on a run. So he's sacrificing his life, his family, his children, doing these things at the command of Gillani. And then he actually goes and hides in Pakistan and is away from his family for 30 years. And then his children have no closure, no news about their father. When it's told to them, for instance, they were told that, Gillani had thought about sending him back, but it might have caused him problems, So they don't know whether this individual or their father is alive or dead. And if he is dead, they don't know where he's buried. They don't know where they can go to visit his grave. And there's so many different side tangents that we can go into, because this is a perfect reflection of what happens to people that sacrifice their lives for Mubarak Gillani, when they're not useful anymore, them and their families are just discarded. For instance, MJ mentioned how Khalifa Ali, he was discarded and he was forced to be buried in his backyard, pretty much, or his son's yard or something like that. So I'm imploring anybody that knows any information regarding this individual, regarding whether he's alive or dead, even employing the administration of TMOA. One of you has to have enough compassion in your hearts to contact these family members and give them the necessary information. If he's dead, there's no worry. No one's going to arrest him. So let them know where he's buried so they can go visit him, right? Give them the same rights. You guys are building a whole entire $250,000 shrine on top of the guy that this man sacrificed his life for, but you won't even let his children know where he's buried. If he's alive, let them know that and provide a way for them to get in contact with him, right? The two people that are more risk that this guy committed a crime in the name of Gillani. Gillani has passed away, and so there's no flack coming back on Gillani, right? Give them some closure. You can contact them secretly. And this is just coming from us at R2F, because we feel for the people that are being continually subjugated to this type of tyranny and oppression. We have 9 children that don't even know whether their father is alive or dead. And if he is dead, they don't even know where he is. So please, anybody that has any information related to this, please contact these people and let them know something, any information you have.
I think that's well said. I think you covered everything. but yeah, it is a serious issue. So please, anybody who can, please help this family out. It's not for us. Forget us. We're, if we had the information, inshallah, they would already have it. So bypass us, those people who may have a certain feeling about us or not, and help this family, inshallah, to have what anybody else would want. Put yourself in their shoes and act accordingly, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. So I think the next topic is we have some news, and it's just really just wait, what happened? Mute current and new participants. Okay, well, I don't know what that means. All right, did I mute everybody? I think you got you can.
Okay.
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 Yeah, something popped up.
Okay. Well, I would just like to a small, not even a disclaimer, but to lay the foundation for some of the stuff that's going to be discussed, is that we do not take any joy or pride or satisfaction in these type of things. We do get, I think I can speak for Jafar, like we both have been, played a lot of sports in our days and times, and we would, just like we get excited and hyped up for the way we used to. Some of these things in giving da'wah and some of this stuff gets us very excited, yes, but not this type of topic. It's very sensitive. People will definitely be upset. Some people will be hurt. Some unintended collateral damage is sure to be sure to happen over this tonight and probably on into the future. However, it is necessary because of the weight of what's happening. People's dunya and akhirah are being affected by the group, the leaders of the group, and in particular starts with Gillani, Mubarak Gillani. So we have tried to contact some of the individuals who will be mentioned. We have tried to do it in a way that is professional and tactful, but at the end of the day, people are being hurt repeatedly. And there are some people who will continue to be hurt. And the worst hurt that's happening is the fact that people are being led headlong into a belief that is shirk and something that Allah will not be pleased with. We're certain of this. We are trying very hard to get people to see that. And if this is one of the things that we have to do to show clearly that, number one, Mubarak Gillani, though he may have been nice to you, though he may have taught you adab and manners, he taught many things that were incorrect. He is not the Mujaddid of the century, and he's not one to be followed. That has been our stance. That is our stance. And if tonight doesn't prove it, well, I would just say we will keep proving it every week and so forth and so on. But this is one of the things. And as we have said on many shows, sorry, not trying to be too long, but as we have said, if they would just leave the shirk alone and leave the people, tell the people the truth and let them be, we would let them be. But we have lots of information that comes to us, tons of it. Some we withhold because it's so sensitive and because people will be hurt. And some, even though the people will be hurt, we have to go with it because perhaps it may be what will finally get people to turn away from the shirk, the belief in the seven sultans, the belief that in these things that are shirk and un-Islamic, and will turn away from them and turn back to the fitrah in which they were born upon as Muslims who believe in Allah and the oneness of Allah and don't associate any partners with him. So at the end of the day, We don't want to hurt anyone. We don't want to do it. We just want people to believe in Allah alone, follow the Quran and the Sunnah, and leave the shirk behind. And if people will do that, we will try to do that as well ourselves, and we will leave everybody alone. But until then, this is the type of thing that will have to take place, and it will continue. It will continue. We have the information, lots of it, and we'll keep bringing it, inshallah. So here goes.
So I think we should go maybe with like a timeline. And so we have marriage, right? And then sometimes marriages end in divorce. And we can start with just the absolute wrong way to divorce somebody. And what is the wrong way to divorce somebody?
So there are some stipulations for when you can even pronounce a talaq, right? So number one is you cannot pronounce a talaq or pronounce a divorce in a period in which you have been intimate with your wife. The wife cannot pronounce divorce, only the man can. The wife can go to a judge or qadi or someone and seek a divorce that way at any time, I believe. I don't think there's some sort of limitation, but for the man, he cannot pronounce a divorce during a between menstrual periods in which he has been intimate with his wife. So that is not permissible. Rasulullah had Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu to take his wife back when he had did that until she finished that cycle, the purity cycle. Then she had her menses, and then when she came back from her menses, and then if he wanted to divorce her, then he could divorce her then. So that's number one. So a person cannot, and all of these things are safeguards in place so that a person who is maybe a hothead or overly emotional, and men shouldn't be this way, but it's a protection that's there in place for for both parties, so that there's certain times where you cannot even pronounce divorce; it won't be accepted. It's not a valid divorce. You have to wait. Also, you are not. It is not allowed for you to pronounce all three talaqs, all three divorces in one sitting. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to pronounce one at the proper time, making sure that it's not within a month, that month in which you have been intimate with your wife. You have to wait until, it doesn't matter if it's right as soon as she comes off of her cycle, in the middle of the month or whatever. You have to wait until after she has her period, comes back to praying again, and then you have to pronounce it. So there's a specific time, and then so you can do that once, and then there's 3 months, 3 menstrual cycles that go by in which you have to live together, carry on the same way as husband and wife, except for being intimate with one another. And if after 3 months and the divorce is over, and a person can take their wife back, the man can take their wife back within that 3-month period, by being intimate with her or just telling her, I take the divorce back or whatever, 2 times. You can do that twice. And the 3rd time, the marriage is over, and those people are not halal for each other forever, unless that woman marries another man, a legitimate marriage, and for whatever reason, maybe the man dies or the man divorces her, and then and only then is the person halal for the man to marry that woman again.
So let me back up a little bit, and because I want to talk about something that's kind of like an epidemic in Tmoa, is the fact that people do not understand, are ignorant to the process of divorce. And from everything you're describing, it seems very clear that one, the intent is to kind of avoid unnecessary divorces, and 2, to make sure people are like thinking clearly about what they're doing to avoid a bad situation. Because what happens in Tmoa is some people don't know, like I've talked to people that they think they have to pronounce talaq 3 times to actually equal 1 divorce, right? And you have people that pronounce talaq 3 times to make like a macho statement, like I'm really, really mad at you, so I'm gonna do it all 3 times. you know, and there's been situations where individuals have pronounced talaq 3 times that I personally know of. And when it got to Sheikh Gillani, he said this is haram, and he actually gave him a punishment, whether it was lashes or the one in my case that I knew of. It was, of course, a financial punishment. He had to pay money. But I wanted to read this hadith that's from this book right here, which is sold by Zavia Books, recommended by Mubarak Gillani himself. And he even said about this series of books that every administrator in Tmoa should have this book and refer to it when they're dealing with the situations of the people. So it's a book directly from, you know, Tmoa, legit source right here. But the hadith I want to read is regarding about the 3 divorces all at once. And this hadith comes from Nasai, and it says that Sayyidina Mahmud ibn Labid radiallahu anhu narrated that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was informed of a man who divorced his wife by 3 pronunciations simultaneously. So he pronounced all 3 talaqs at one time. And he said, at that, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam rose angrily, saying, will you make light of the book of Allah Almighty and glorious while I am among you? And it gives this commentary. He says, he meant that the commands of Allah were being made fun of. And after Rasulullah stood up and angrily said this, a Sahaba stood up and said, O Messenger of Allah, should I kill him? So this is a hadith, Nasai, that this is how serious the situation is, that one, it made Rasulullah furious, right? 2, that it's such an offense that the Sahabas actually thought that we should probably kill people like this. That's not my ruling. I'm just saying the seriousness of the gravity of this offense, that people that, you know, let alone someone that's supposed to be a scholar, that's supposed to be the mujaddid, that's supposed to be a learned person, like we know we're not supposed to do that. So I just wanted to take people back to, if we're pronouncing talaq 3 times in one instance, it's a very bad sin. We're not supposed to do that. So
is there I thought there was another one. Okay.
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I really want to completely lay out the evidences first before we go into the details and the individuals in the scene, the scenario and the scene. Okay, so we laid out how a person literally the safeguards are in place so well to prevent unintentional divorces. Like if a person, for instance, gets angry, the safeguards are in place where a person cannot divorce their wife within majority of the time. Think of how often a woman is praying as opposed to not. It's like, I don't know, out of 30 days, at least 21 or so, sometimes 25 or so. So you're talking about, you know, over 80% of the time, even if you were angry or whatever, you couldn't, you know, divorce your wife. So there's, and this is the thing. This is the thing we have to keep in mind. We are just students, you know, we're students and we study Islam. We learn from our teachers and our sheikhs, and we are students in that regard. We don't consider ourselves mujaddids of any day, week, month, year, or century. Now we're talking about a person who is allegedly claimed by whoever, himself or whatever, talking about Gillani, who's supposed to be the mujaddid of the century, a spiritual guide, someone who is to be followed and listened to in regards to the religion of Al-Islam. And we're trying to show you that either A, he doesn't practice Islam, he did not, and he led people astray due to ignorance or negligence, but both disqualify him from being a leader of any kind, nor to be followed in life or after death. And anyone who is carrying on his legacy and teachings and beliefs and everything should be rejected as leaders as well. Forget them. And this should be proof. So we know as far as a divorce, how it goes about. Now, what about a person who divorces their wife? Okay, irrevocably. 3 divorces, done, can't marry them again, and then they want to marry them again. This is called tahleel or halala, is what they say. Halala marriage is making them halal for you again, basically, is what it's the halal it comes from. Making the woman halal again for the man, tahleel or halalas. And this thing is 100% haram. It's illegal in Islam. No one, no sheikh, no spiritual guide, no mujaddid of the century would be a fool enough to not know this and still claim to themselves as a leader of people, a judge over marriages and divorces. So this proves that the person is not qualified. But the number one hadith we will mention is that, as I said, it's completely forbidden. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is in Sahih Muslim, is reported by Sabra al-Juhayni, reported the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, prohibited temporary marriages. And he said, behold, it is forbidden for this day of yours until the day of resurrection. So Rasulullah has said this, that it is not permissible. This goes for mut'a marriages, okay? And any sort of temporary marriage. So if I can digress just a little bit. So mut'a marriage and halal marriages, though they are very similar, they're different. And halal marriage is worse.
Yep.
Halal is worse. The mut'a marriage is when you have a temporary marriage. The man wants to enjoy his time with a woman, or a woman wants to enjoy her time with a man, or whatever, and they agree to a certain payment in terms. It's prostitution. Okay, basically, they agree to a certain term and time in which they'll be married, a day, an hour, a week, a month, a year, or whatever the case may be. And once the term is in, everything is gone. They go their separate ways. That's haram. Halal marriages or tahleel is when the man wants to get back with a woman, or a woman wants to get back with a man that they have been married but divorced. And the reason why it's worse is because Allah has laid out in Quran that once you divorce them 3 times irrevocably, it's over. You can never go back to them. And it's a way of making a mockery of the law of Allah, because you're trying to weasel around it when Allah has made it very stiff and very difficult to prevent you from making the mistake of divorcing your wife. It's to prevent it. And just like if a person commits adultery in an Islamic state, they're to be stoned to death. It's to prevent people from making the mistake. And so when you make a mockery of the laws of Allah, it's worse than just, committing a sin. The people who do mut'a marriages, wrongly, they think that they are halal. And they're not doing it to try to go around something that Allah has clearly said is haram, which actually they are, but it's a little bit different because this is in Quran. But the point is that this is it's an extremely bad thing. It is 100% haram, and you will see as the next thing that Rasulullah ﷺ said is that it was narrated that Uqba bin Amir, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, shall I not tell you of a borrowed billy goat? And they said, yes, O Messenger of Allah. He said, this is al-muhallil. May Allah curse al-muhallil and al-muhallil lahu. So al-muhallil is the man, and this gets into the halal marriage, which we touched on before, but in case anyone is unaware. The muhallil is the man who is the halal man. He comes in to have intercourse with someone's wife in order to make them halal for them. That's the muhallil. The muhallil lahu is the man, the cuck, who's waiting for someone to have sex with his wife so that he can get back with her. So the muhallil, the halal man who comes in, does the deed and leaves. The muhallil lahu is the one who was married to the woman, divorced her. Then he's waiting for someone else to have sex with his wife so that he can take her back.
Yeah. And I just want to mention something real quick, just so because, and this is how people skirt around this. And if you don't know this part of it, they may confuse you, because what we're talking about when we refer to tahlil or halal marriages, we're talking about these things that are organized and planned, right? So like say for instance, I divorced my wife 3 times and we're divorced. Then she engages in a lawful marriage, meaning that they're intending to stay together for the rest of their lives, right? And then, some time goes on, they're married for however long, few months, few years, whatever, and say something that doesn't work out with them. And then they get lawfully, legally divorced. At that point, the previous husbands or previous husband and previous wife can get back together because it wasn't planned. It wasn't organized. So people will try to use this part of it to try to present it as this is what's happening. No, this is not what's happening, because people are planning this without the intent, with the marriage that's organized is without any intention of actually staying together. Because how Mubarak explained that halala is similar to a muta or a temporary marriage, the halala is worse because it includes a muta marriage and has other aspects on it. So that's the real crux of it. And I wanted to just point out one thing, because sometimes we because of how Prophet Muhammad spoke and the Arabs spoke at that time, we don't really get the real understanding of really what the seriousness of what they're saying. He's saying this person is like a borrowed billy goat, right? And what just to give you context, if you're raising animals, sheep, goats, cows, camels, if you don't have a bull or a billy goat, a male goat, to impregnate or have to mate with your female goats, sometimes you borrow your friend's billy goat to come have sex with your goats. And this is what Prophet Muhammad is explaining here. He's saying this is the same thing. You're borrowing a billy goat to come have sex with your wife. Think about that. And just to put it in real, I'm going to speak plainly because we should all be adults. It's 9 o'clock at night. A man is organizing with another man, whether it be his friend, his stranger, a stranger, whatever. Hey, I want you to come marry and have sex with my ex-wife, and then divorce her right after that so that I can remarry her. This is what we're talking about.
So, and not to mention, think of this and keep this in mind for all the parties involved. And Rasulullah said that, may Allah curse al-muhallil and al-muhallil lahu, both men. He didn't mention the woman in this thing because a lot of times the women are they're under a certain amount of pressure and coercion, and sometimes their husbands or ex-husbands have a certain amount of control, whether it be physical or emotional, over them. But the hadith is clear. Rasulullah said, may Allah curse 2 people: the man, the billy goat, and the cuck. Or the is that a bad word? I don't know if that's a bad word. Okay,
it's not a bad word. It's just
okay. Oh, okay. And the man who's literally waiting for someone to finish off his wife so that he can resume. Okay, so basically, Rasulullah cursed those 2 people. So as we go forward, know that forget about what we say. Rasulullah said these 2 people are cursed. He said, may Allah curse them. And I second that. May Allah curse the people who do this. I mean. So then they can take it up with Allah as far as their repentance are concerned. If they die before they repent, then their affair is with Allah. And without a doubt, Allah will treat them justly for their actions or inactions. But for those that may be still living and have done these things or are doing these things, have facilitated these things, then may the curse of Allah be on you, and perhaps it will be lifted if Allah decides to have mercy on you, or maybe you'll make up for and repent for that type of thing. But Rasulullah says, may Allah curse you, so I am with that as well. So going forward, I say they, and one of the reasons I'll say that Rasulullah, he mentions very clearly that the two men are the ones responsible, or the two men are the one who get the heaviest, get the cursing, and the woman in this hadith anyway was left out. But they look at how much they disrespect the woman in this regard. I mean, neither man has any respect for the woman. I mean, do these people have daughters and sisters or mothers? I mean, they all have some women, but clearly they did not. Factor that in to their actions. They really had no care in the world. And so for these women, and I'm sure some either are watching or will watch, and perhaps they are the person or persons in question that this was done to. And I say that may Allah have mercy on you and forgive you, that this falls on the responsibility, the bulk of the responsibility falls on the men. The women should know their religion and hold the men accountable when they err, but they were taken advantage of and they were abused. And we acknowledge that, and we really ask Allah to forgive them for the shortcomings, for that happening, and to heal their hearts, because I'm sure it's something that it's probably difficult to have to continue to live with, but we will have to discuss it.
Well, think about just to comment on that a little bit, and the women know this better than us, but we've heard them talk. So when a woman is divorced, there's certain things that goes through women's minds psychologically that men don't deal with, and one of the things oh, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to get married again? Right? All these different things is going through their heads. And during this emotional point where a man literally divorced them on the spot, right? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I got to leave. I have kids. Am I too old? Am I going to want me because I'm damaged goods? All these different things going through a woman's mind. And then, of course, the man comes and, hey, I got this opportunity. You can get back with me. You're taking advantage of someone's psychological condition or their emotional condition at that point. This is what spiritual abuse is, y'all. When you're taking someone's emotional, spiritual state and using it against them. And just so the women know this, right? There's a women's retreat coming up for people that are in TMOA. Any women watching this and any women that go there to learn or teach, when they start talking about marriage, y'all should bring this up, because everybody should be very clear on your rights and responsibilities and what can get you cursed or not in a divorce. Because in this situation, I didn't have time to find hadith, but there's also hadith that says everybody who's involved in planning this and organizing it is cursed. Now, if you're a woman and you're notified of this, hey, we plan on doing this. Do you agree? You are now part of the planning process of this, right? And in this book, the same book that I just mentioned earlier, that's recommended by Mubarak Gillani, TMOA book. This is what the scholars of this book that give commentary on that same hadith that Mubarak just mentioned. They say that the woman, they reference a hadith but don't actually provide it. They say in another hadith, the woman is called a borrowed sheep. A borrowed sheep. This is what, if you're engaging in this and someone's trying to convince you of doing this, this is what they look at you as, a borrowed sheep. No respect, no honor. You may think that your life may be saved. You may save your family. What are my kids going to do without their father? Bro, by Allah, it is better for you to obey Allah and Rasulullah than to try to circumvent his laws and fix your worldly situation. Allah will give you a better husband. Allah will give your children a better man in their lives to raise them after. Do not follow these pigs and dogs and people who are cursed and try to go back with them and think that your life is going to be fixed. I know of multiple halalas or tahlils. None of them are married anymore. None of them. Not one saved family from this. Well, now I know of one that lasted, but we'll get into that.
To continue. Um, so, and to touch on something that you did mention about the woman, and if she knows, and we can try to make an excuse for the women involved because Rasulullah didn't mention them explicitly. But if the woman, she knows that this marriage is only to have intercourse with a stranger for one night or a moment, maybe not even a night, just a few minutes or whatever it takes, and then go back. If she is aware of this and knows of this, the halala, this type of marriage is not legitimate. The two men are cursed. It's haram. The marriage is not halal. The tahlil, the marriage with the muhallil, is not a legitimate marriage. So therefore, the remarriage to the original husband is not legitimate either. They're both illegitimate marriages, and the children that are produced from one of these marriages are illegitimate. That's just the facts of the matter. It's not a legal marriage. And if the men involved, well, they're responsible. But when the woman goes into that knowing the situation, oh, I'm doing this temporarily, I'm trying to circumvent, this thing to get back with my husband real quickly or whatever, it's haram, it's illegal. The marriages are illegitimate, nullified, void marriages. So any children that are produced are illegitimate. They're not legitimate children. So that's unfortunate. That's sad. So whenever these halalas take place, and if anyone, I mean, this is just being real. If anyone is in a marriage that was resumed after halala, you have a major issue on your hand. What you should do is, and I will be frank, what you should do is you should sit with someone of knowledge, explain to them what was explained to you, and make sure you get your situation out there, because perhaps because you were told wrongly, then what they do is do a legitimate marriage. Maybe if you divorced your wife legitimately, then perhaps it's over. You just can't get back. But so you're on a case by case basis. It has to be looked at. Otherwise, what you could be doing is engaging in fornication for years, maybe. So what you have to do is go ahead and take those steps. There are resources available. You can contact us anonymously or not anonymously. We won't share your information, but we can direct you to people who can look at your case, what happened, what was told, and then help you to make the correct decision. But I would not just leave this as well, I was engaged in a halala back in 1980, and now it just is what it is.
And I just wanted to mention real quick about, because we're translating stuff from, we're just saying the English part of it. But when we say curse, we're talking about Allah's la'ana. And what la'ana means, when Allah curses somebody, right? That means, because some people might say, oh, it's Allah's curse, and may Allah have mercy on them and this and that. So, someone who speaks Arabic and knows about the language, this is what the meaning of la'ana, Allah's curse means. It means to be kicked out of the mercy of Allah in the hereafter and the stop of his mercy and acceptance in this world. So basically, you are not receiving Allah's mercy in this life and the hereafter. That's what when Allah and Rasul says someone is cursed, that means you're not getting any of his mercy, right? That means all the good deeds, everything you're doing is not being accepted. No mercy. Like, just think about the words. Like, this is what being cursed by Allah and Rasul means.
So, to finish up the last couple of things I had before we actually get into the actual information, laying down the groundwork, is that these tahleel, these halal marriages, they carry a capital punishment in Islam. Like if someone is caught doing this, it's the same thing as you ever caught, committing adultery or anything like this. It carries the capital punishment, and this is according to Umar radhiallahu anhu, who said that by Allah, no muhallil or muhallal lahu will be brought to me, but I will stone them. Basically, it's going to give them the capital punishment of stoning them to death. That is the two men. It keeps mentioning the men, though, because based on the hadith, the muhallil and the muhallal lahu, those two men, the billy goat and the cuck, both of them will be stoned to death. It carries a capital punishment. So this is a crime all the way around, whether you, there's no way to wiggle out of this for a person who should be someone who is a spiritual guide and a leader to fall into something like this. That's period. Last thing is that Al-Bayhaqi narrated in Sunan al-Kubra from Nafi'. Nafi' is the freed slave of Ibn Umar, I believe. But Nafi' narrates many ahadith, and this is like part of like the golden chain of ahadith, right? The strongest chain is a chain of ahadith that comes from Rasulullah, Ibn Umar, Nafi'. Okay, so like literally, like if someone wants to find like the strongest evidence, a lot of times it comes through this Sahabi Nafi'. So Nafi' said, and this is quoting Nafi', not necessarily a hadith, but Nafi' is saying this. He said that a man came to Umar radhiallahu anhu and asked him about a man who divorced his wife 3 times. Then a brother of his married her without any prior agreement with him, so as to make her permissible for his brother. Does she become permissible for the first husband? He said, no, unless it is a genuine marriage. We used to regard this as fornication at the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we know the penalty that fornication comes with. So when he says no, unless it's a genuine marriage, you know what a genuine marriage is? A genuine marriage is when you get married, okay, and those people have all full intentions to live together, to carry on, have children, and to continue on being intimate with each other when the time arises or when they need one another, and so forth and so on. So for these people who are going to try, and we have the wackiest people that will try to make every excuse under the sun, when there's witnesses that will say, yes, he did ordered us to do X, Y, Z. I was the one involved in this. Whatever the case may be, they will try to make excuses. So a legitimate marriage is, what do you do? Well, any person who gets married, first of all, where are you and your wife going to stay? What plans have you made for moving in, living arrangement, furniture, travel, like all these type of things? If none of these things were discussed with a person that you laid down and had intercourse with, that is muta' or halala or both. You didn't plan on, you didn't have a house to go to, or you didn't plan on supporting her, or housing and clothing her. You just found her in a room, went about your business and left. You're a rat, man. You're a disgusting person. You are worse. You deserve the curse of Allah. So I mean, this is, and we try not to be too hard. Some people were misled and misguided by people. They were guided to do these things, but still, you at some point in time, your manhood has to kick in. Your decency has to kick in. Your consciousness had to kick in, and even your testicles have to kick in and say, man, this is not correct. But none of those things came, before these people decided to jump to this conclusion. I mean, only Allah knows, whether there is an excuse for them. I find it hard to find it.
Listen, the only way that in my mind that someone who has any sense of manhood, respect, honor, to do this is if they really view their wife or women, period, as just slabs of meat or tools, or just like, well, as we learned last week, slaves.
Yeah,
right?
slaves.
Because
Mhm.
how could a man, even if you messed up, you made a mistake, you did the 3 divorces, and you're like, man, I messed up, I lost a good woman. If you felt that about your ex-wife, you would have enough respect and dignity for her and for yourself to be like, man, I'm not doing that. Like, we messed up. Maybe some down the line, like if it doesn't work out in your future marriages or whatever, but we're gonna move on because I'm not gonna disrespect you and even ask you to do this. Because in the end, you're letting, like, I mean, maybe nowadays people accept it because now they do all these, like, you can cheat, you can open relationships and all these other things, but it's really a sign that the person is not really a man to me. It's not really a man, or you really have no respect for women whatsoever.
I mean, you can't really. It's more about that person because they don't care about their. They don't care about the other person, akhirah. They definitely don't. I mean, they could care less. You know what I mean? I mean, they're about themselves. They disregarded the law of Allah, so they don't necessarily have a care about that. And they don't care that they might lead another person. Multiple. Look at all the people that are being pulled into this haram. It takes multiple people to execute this thing. So when you mention how the other hadith that says all the people involved are also, cursed. Of course, naturally. I mean, because even with you, when you have other things like interest in things, the person who writes it, and the person who witnesses it, and the person who gives it, and the person who takes it, all these different people are all cursing it. Same thing. You're trying to circumvent the law of Allah, and that carries heavy weight. I hope what we laid out here is very clear. The last thing that I will say regarding this is the legitimate marriage also carries with it a legitimate divorce. And when a woman is divorced, as we talked about last week, you cannot marry a woman a day or 2 or 10 after she is divorced. You have to wait 3 menstrual cycles. Their husband dies 4 months, 10 days. The only instance in which that time is cut is if the woman is pregnant or when her husband dies or is divorced. And as soon as she delivers, she can remarry. That's the only way. But other than that, if the woman is pregnant, there can be no marriage during a pregnancy. So if a woman is pregnant and she gets divorced, she could be 1 month pregnant. You got to wait 9 more months, buddy. So there's no marriage jumping in there. So there's no such thing as a woman getting divorced and someone quickly jumping into her bed. This is we can go into the reasons for that and the wisdom behind that and the science behind that and many other things. The health reasons for that. To protect the lineage of what children might come. So even if a person, they try to make it legit, no man can be waiting in the wings while another man is having intercourse with a woman as if, yeah, she's mine, but you're just making this a lot. No, she's not your wife at the time, nor can she even be your wife until a minimum of 3 menstrual cycles after a legit divorce, in which a legitimate divorce actually takes a minimum of 3 months. Because even if he said, okay, I divorce her, that's one. So perhaps between that 3 months, he has to take care of her and you do all the normal things that a husband is responsible for, except for he cannot have intercourse with her. And if he does, the marriage resumes. And then that 3 month period, if he divorced her again, would start over anew, but it couldn't even start until she was outside of a period of purity in which they were intimate. So it's a long time before a man, because see, this is the one of the wisdoms behind it. So a freaking snake, a crook of a man, can't sit and be waiting in the wings for another person's wife. Maybe he tempted her, maybe whatever the case may be, but it takes so long. Maybe the person just got in there and saw her and like, man, why don't you just divorce her, man? She's not good for you. And he wants her. But even if legally, it would take months and months and months for him to actually legally, Islamically, be able to get his hands on her. So for a person last week, he married a woman after 2 days, witnesses. And actually, there's other witnesses. Well, put it this way. I was talking to someone who literally thought I was talking about that situation. Two other women that they mentioned that they had knowledge of that happened as well, in which, oh, they didn't like their husbands or whatever the case may be. That still doesn't make it okay for a person to jump from out of one bed and into another. You know,
And I want to highlight something real quick, just to give people just a peek at the problems that come from this, because you mentioned protecting the lineage, right? So the people out here, parents, especially you parents that are involved in this type of stuff, now we have potential situations where a child might not actually be the father's child. A guy, you have the sheikh that married someone 2 days after they're married. That means he was letting this happen all throughout the community, right? Before deaths are done. So you have discrepancies in parenthood, right? And this is a small, this heightens the problem in Tmoa because it's a small community. We have people have tight circles, right? How is it possible that a brother and a sister could be married? It is very possible, because we don't know how many times this happened. If I know of 5, 6 situations that happened in my short time in Tmoa, how many happened throughout the whole 40 years? Now, you parents out there that are involved, that have been involved in this, that's done this, that have had children as a result of this, and you might not know who the baby daddy is, you need to rectify these situations, at least privately, with you, your ex-husband, current husband, whatever, your children, and let them know the situation. Because an Ibn Abdullah might not be Ibn Abdullah. He might be Ibn, Amir, or so and so. So fix this so that you can correct it and go forward correctly, because this can just keep going and going and spreading out. And this is why Allah put these laws in place, to protect us. It's for our own good. I took a class from an individual that was in charge of, he's responsible for the first Islamic court system, legally recognized court system in America, down in Texas. And he stressed on the point of, when you think that whatever you're doing is actually better than what Allah and Prophet Muhammad told you to do, you actually leave the fold of Islam. You are not Muslim while you believe that. If you know that Allah and Rasulullah said, this is what you do, this is what you can and can't do in this situation. Like in this situation, you cannot arrange a halala. You cannot marry somebody before the iddat period's over. If you're like, well, I think this is going to be better to do it this way. I think I know better. I'm going to do it this way. You actually leave the fold of Islam. We just talked about these individuals are cursed. We just talked about the risk of, incest or whatever else that could occur from this. We just talked about potentially leaving the fold of Islam. This is why we're going through all these proofs and evidence before we actually get to the situation, so that this can stick in your mind for all the apologists that are watching, who are going to make excuses for this. Right now in your mind, I have no doubt that you're like, these people are dirt. Whoever is doing this is dirt, and I don't agree with this. But we'll see. And when we reveal the names, if you have a problem with it, that's how you know you're indoctrinated.
And one more thing to add on to that is that when you were talking about, Ibn Abdullah could be Ibn Amir or whoever the case may be. Not to, this is not actual, people. We're just, these are just random names we're coming with, just stock names. But it is haram to attribute the lineage of someone to the wrong person. Like, I can't say because, I just really love Bilal Phillips. I can't say that, Bilal Phillips is my dad. That is haram. It is a major sin. It's haram. And I don't have that hadith with me, but I believe that hadith actually says that person is cursed too. It's a curse on the people who falsely like to claim, oh, this person, I'm the son of so and so. That's my dad. Because what are you doing? Number one, you're telling a lie, but also, Bilal Phillips was never married to my mother. So literally, I'm basically calling him a fornicator, an adulterer. or whatever the case may be. I'm making stuff up. I mean, there's so much weight that goes with that. But the point is, you cannot, for any reason, falsely attribute lineage to the wrong person knowingly. So if you know this person is not your son, or this person is not your daughter, you know it. Not to save face, not to keep the peace, because what's the point of you keeping the peace with the people when Allah is going to break you to pieces in the hereafter? What's the point? You have literally cut your nose off despite your face, or however the saying goes. You're destroying yourself. So forget about trying to save your pride, your dignity, keep your family together. I mean, Allah talks about how you will ransom your family and everyone else on the day of Qiyamah to save yourself if you could, but you will try it. So knowing that Allah says this is haram, this is wrong, it's a major sin, it's a curse on the person who attributes someone to their lineage or to someone's lineage when they are not, it is haram. So therefore, make those corrections if you need to.
Does that apply to people who claim to be Ahlul Bayt as well, or no?
It applies to anyone claiming a lineage. Now, some of these people may have been told by their father or grandfather or great grandfather, whoever, that we're from the lineage. And if they're doing that based on because you know, I mean, nowadays we know our parents. I mean, we can look our dad in the face and say, "Well, dang," then there's no mistake in it. But you know, there's some situations where a person can, they can falsely attribute or whatever. But the thing is with that, I mean, if your grandmother tells you, "Hey, listen, we're Sayyids," and a person believes it, then or they don't. I mean, it's not on them. It's on the first person who set that in motion, or it's on the person who actually knows. Actually, we're not. But hey, it sounds nice, so let's roll with it. It's on that person. Once a person knows and they run with it, it's on them. But if your dad tells you right now, "Hey, we're related to Thomas Jefferson," I mean, all right, I'm related to Thomas Jefferson. I mean, all of us probably are some sort of way anyway.
Yeah, right. Especially us lighter skinned brothers.
Yeah. Okay, so with that said, everything is laid out. It took a lot longer than what we expected. I thought we would get through that in like 10 minutes, but it just happened.
It never happens that way.
So the situation is clear. The situation is an emergency, for those people who may have this type of situation going on. So Jafar, I will let you
take it from here.
Take it from here.
All right. So just to be clear, so if anybody questions this, we reached out to the individuals involved via phone call, via text message, and via email. They read the messages. We gave them a chance to respond, gave them a chance to say whatever. They did not, as of this moment, they have not responded. The one individual actually blocked me after reading the message, and the email has been read 18 times it was sent to multiple individuals. So we gave them a chance to respond. And this was reported to us by one individual, and then we did confirm it with multiple other individuals to corroborate the story. So we did our due diligence to make sure that this was true. And I'm just going to tell the story. And first, we had a lengthy discussion because we try our best to do what's right. It's not about just like trying to destroy people or whatever, but like Mubarak said at the beginning, some things we have to reveal. So we decided not to reveal the name of the sister who was involved to protect her because, she's a victim in this situation. But we will reveal the names of the men involved, which means we will reveal the names of the men that in the hadith, according to the hadith, they are cursed because they are the ones that the halal man and the husband. So in around 1999, Mubarak Gillani, or as Tmoa says,
don't pause like that. Don't pause like that, man. No, don't pause like that. You said
Mubarak. Just stop. I was like,
my my bad, my bad.
Wait, hold on, what?
My bad. So
Look, that was like a shock to my chest. I felt like I got shot or something.
Mubarak Gillani, let's be clear, Mubarak Gillani, the leader and imam, the deceased leader and imam of Tmoa, the ones they refer to as Mujaddid of the century, the one they refer to as the sixth sultan, the one they refer to as reviver of the deen, all these different
guide,
things.
you know, Murshid Kamil, the
Murshid
perfect.
Kamil, the
guy.
perfect Murshid.
The White Hall.
He pronounced talaq on one of his wives 3 times, right? Irrevocably divorcing her while she was in Pakistan. And we already talked about the hadith that Rasul Sallam got very angry, and the Sahabas thought that this is a person that should be killed, just right here, for pronouncing 3 talaqs at one time. And he decided to marry her. I guess she agreed to marry him back. So he ordered one of his young talibs at the time, this is 1999, while he was in Pakistan, to conduct or be the halal man, to marry her and sleep with his wife so that he could marry her back. And this individual's name is Muhammad Ali or Matthew Gardner, the public relations representative for Tmoa. So this man agreed to be the halal man for, quote unquote, I'm not even gonna say, for Mubarak Gillani himself. I'm not gonna refer to him as Sheikh. He's only a Sheikh that he was old. He ordered one of his students to commit a halala with his ex-wife in Pakistan. So right here, we have 2 individuals that we just named, that one is a previous leader of Tmoa, the imam of Tmoa, and one's a mayor of a land and a PR rep because he's a white guy. You know, that's how he got that position. But these are 2 people that explicitly in the hadith are cursed. And they committed this act. And now let's go into a little bit of defense so we could just talk about the strangeness and the abuse and the mental and psychological issues that, not just because of the halala, what actually happened during this incident. So he just basically throws them both in a room together as he sits outside the door. Think about this. Ladies especially, think about this. You know what's going on right now. You don't even give them the respect to give them privacy to go do this prostitution. You're going to sit by and listen, whatever, while they're doing this, and then knocking on the door. What are you doing? Why are you taking so long? Hurry up. What's going on? This is craziness to me. And it's actually kind of sick when you think about it, that this man was doing this. And I get why he's doing it a little bit, because it's that little bit of jealous husband in him. But it's freaking sick. It's sick enough that you prostituted your wife. And this man, Matthew Gardner, PR rep of Tmoa, the face of Tmoa, when they have to go to press conferences and explain why we're not terrorists, this is the guy who did this. Now, we don't know all the people that know. We don't know if Muhammad Gardner's wives and whatever were who he was married to at the time, if they knew of this stuff, but they know about it now. And we have a message, and Mubarak, you could chime in anytime you want. For you, Matthew Gardner, you are alive and well, as far as I know. We just explained to you, and if he's not watching, anybody can get this message to him. We have explained the hadith. Rasul said, you are cursed. Now, what do you have to do to get out from under that curse? First, you have to recognize that what you did was wrong, and you have to repent for it. You have to ask sincere forgiveness from Allah for that. And Rasul tells us to cover up our bad deeds with good deeds. And I'm suggesting to you that one way you can cover up this extremely bad deed is to speak out and say, this was wrong. I was guilty of this. I apologize, and I condemn anybody else that does this. You can help prevent others from falling victim to the same thing that you and yourself a little bit fell victim to, and that these women are falling victim to. I challenge you. I implore you. I beg you to do that for your own sake. Seek Allah. Your sheikh is gone. He can't bully you no more into doing these things. You know it's wrong. Do something about it. Try to stop it from happening to other people.
I mean, that's I mean, really, you hit the nail on the head for him. And I don't know him, so I mean, I can only my anger with him and my backing up him. You know, I'm with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in saying that he should be cursed, and I'm sticking with it. But it's not just because I don't know him. It's because of before anyone we go with, you know, with Allah and His Messenger, before our family, before ourselves, before our friends, before our wives, we take the side of Allah and His Messenger. And so I want to make it very distinct that when it comes to what Rasulullah says and how I feel about anyone else, I'm on the side of Rasulullah 100%. And if we find ourselves both on that side, then inshallah, I'll be your greatest ally, and vice versa. But if there's a choice between you doing something against Rasulullah and what Allah says and not, then I'm going to be vehemently opposed to you. So, Jafar, you addressed Mr. Gardner, Matthew Gardner, but I would say for the young lady.
Real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just real quick, I want to say that we believe this is true, and I just want to preface everything that we're saying that these are still allegations. If they aren't true, please come forward and correct us so that we can retract our statements. Just want to say that real quick.
But we had multiple sources to confirm. I mean, there's even someone in the comment section confirming. But the point is, which I mean, we're not gonna say we just take anything from the comment section as you know, because anything can be in there. But still, I would say, you know, it's clear. I think we made it very clear the situation that Mubarak Gillani and Matthew Gardner are in. One has a chance right now to do something about it. And if you think about this, when Allah says that, when Rasulullah says to follow up the bad deed with a good deed and it will wipe it out. So this is the thing. If you have done something as bad as this, Mr. Gardner, and then you actually come out, make sure that people know, just like we were talking about at AP before, Ahmed Person, when certain things, make sure people know that this is wrong. And if you prevent them from doing something wrong, as being a leader and someone that people will listen to and are influenced by, then not only will Allah wipe out that bad thing that you did, but also give you credit for the good. So you could literally turn the situation into a mega positive if you just do the right thing. But I would say for the ladies that wind up in these situations, and I'm sure if people do some math or do some calculations and whatever the case may be, they might be able to speculate or try to figure out who it was and when or where or whatever, you know. We chose to not mention them, though there were strong reasons why we thought maybe we should mention the ladies, but we decided to keep the ladies out of it because Rasulullah mentioned the men specifically, and we think the message can be delivered in the way that it needs to without necessarily naming them specifically. But for the ladies, I mean, the same thing goes, right? Whether you knew, surely you felt in your heart, whether you knew Islamically with dalil and evidence that this thing is wrong. Surely I know that in your heart, you knew this was not correct. You knew this wasn't right. I'm sure that this does not sit with you. Surely you didn't think, I want to engage in intercourse with another man, with a stranger, you know, while my husband waits outside the door and bangs on the door saying, hurry up, and what's taking so long, XYZ. So the same thing applies though. You can help other people to not fall victim, not just people in TMOA, because this is something that actually happens in other communities, to other women are taken advantage of in this way. They
Yeah.
are, and see, and they are presented it as a way to kind of hush hush secretly do it. These are marriages that take place and they're secret. There's no walima, there's no celebration, there's no announcement, you know. So these things are, they're not marriages. They're false marriages. But the thing is, these events take place secretly, and that's some of the lure for the women is they can secretly maintain their marriage or relationship, and maybe they truly want to still be with their husband who lost his temper and divorced them, and that sometimes is their lure. But it's not because they just want to sleep around with a stranger, and that's not in women's fitra most of the time to just, you know, do that. They would never, especially someone that perhaps, you know, they may see as they go around. This is not, I'm sure this was not any of these women's intention. But I say that for the pain and what you have had to endure and keep silently between, surely your husband knows, and he's always going to have that in the back of his mind, you know, and surely the other man knows, and he's going to know, you know, about that time when in which you were together. But besides that, it's just a secret that is between you and Allah. But that pain and that shame and that you have had to endure, I mean, if you think since 1999, 22 years, okay? Now think of the other people that have had to go through that because you weren't able to or didn't say anything. Now think about some girl somewhere probably is in a situation right now like you were in 1999, between was divorced, don't want to go this way, not sure where to go, and she is going to be presented with this.
Yep.
Marry this creep for an hour, then get back with brother so and so, and no one will know. Yeah, and get back with the creep. And so what Jafar mentioned, these marriages normally end in disaster anyway. They usually don't last anyway. Not to mention, actually to mention first and foremost, about the haramness of it. So perhaps if it's not someone directly that you know personally in TMOA, that you could help to avoid this situation by, number one, knowing that it's haram, telling everyone and keeping them out of it, or B, someone will watch this video maybe, or someone will watch, or have some contact with you or someone, and you will be able to help them to avoid this situation. Who knows? So take the same. Go ahead.
Real quick, let's talk about, just so women understand, because we could talk about this aspect of it, the psychological, because you touched on it, the psychological aspect from a man's perspective of, even if you were coaxed into doing this, a man looking at his wife that he knows she just had relations with another man, he never looks at that woman the same. This is just men's psychology, right? So if you think that you're going to go sleep with another man and then get back with your husband and everything's going to be back the way it was, that's just not going to happen. Every time y'all get an argument, the first thing that's going to go in that man's head is, she slept with that dude, even though he's the one that planned it. First time that you start, you know, maybe he thinks like, you know, you're sending a text like, hey, why did she put her phone down that way? He's thinking you're texting that man. First time you walk down the Eid Road and he sees y'all within 100 yards of each other, hey, why is she so happy? Oh, she just seen that guy.
And won't even be mad at him. Will be mad at you. He should.
Mad at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is part of the reason why these things never work. You know, and you really have to hold yourself up to a higher standard. And we have a theme of this occurring, and that's why I wish more women would come out and speak and tell us their stories, because they need to hear these things of how women, especially young women, are just abused and neglected in TMOA. A lot of it comes from ignorance, a lot of it comes from culture, but a lot of it comes directly from the guidance of the Murshid Kamil. So the people that we're trying to protect, and the lady knows who she is, because you are a widow of Sheikh Gillani, Mubarak Gillani, because you're his widow, you hold power and influence right now. A lot of power and influence in that community, in Tmoa. We are imploring you, just for the sake of us giving you some respect. You might hate us, you might not like us, you might think that we're misguiding people. Just for the sake of us leaving your name out, we are asking you just to at least try to protect others from this happening. You can publicly, you know what? You can get all your your co-wives that are widows, make a public statement together. We denounce this practice, and we will never let this happen again in Tmoa, because this is wrong. How many people can, even if you don't agree with us on everything else, you should agree with us on this. And you can put a stop to it right now today by saying, we denounce this, this is wrong, and we will not stand by and let this happen again to any of our daughters and sisters and mothers in this community. You don't have to make it public. Do it internal in your own little, you guys did a whole, you guys do these political visits to each little land and location and make these announcements, give me money, we're raising money. Go do the same thing for this. You're having a women's retreat in a few weeks. Make it known to every woman, do not ever do this. You have the power, do it. Use your power for something good. Just don't benefit off of, the falsehood and stuff that you've been placed in.
That's the same thing I wanted to say to Muhammad Ali, because I knew Muhammad Ali in my time in Virginia. He was the mayor of Red House Land. And just knowing him, I know him to be a sensible man who can learn things, and he's generally very knowledgeable. That's why he was appointed the mayor, besides from just being white, obviously. So he is knowledgeable enough to know what's right and what's wrong, also as a grown man. And for you to have done this in the past, whether you were forced to do it or not by the sheikh, right? You today, right, as a husband and a father of a daughter, right? You have a daughter, right? You should want to speak out about this, so that because if this ever happened to your daughter, you would kill someone. Guaranteed. Any father, like if any father knew this happened to her daughter, kill someone immediately. So for you, who is a leader, right? The PR, right? This is bad PR. This is terrible PR, right? This reflects poorly on the leader and you as the head of PR. So you need to take it upon yourself to speak out publicly. Say, yes, I was wrong. This sheikh was wrong, because you cannot speak out publicly and say I was wrong and then exclude the sheikh, because he was the one who was part of it. So in your public statement, because this is a public platform we're on, right? We speak public to you, Muhammad Ali. Speak publicly to everyone. Say this is wrong. Sheikh was wrong. I was wrong. I ask your forgiveness. I am terribly sorry. I'm trying to move past this. I'm trying to do things to fix the situation, because this needs to be happened.
And just to touch on the main, like the stuff that I think people really, because we all should be in agreement that this is wrong and this is something really messed up. But now what the question is, now what, right? Now what? For all of you people who are still like, Mama Sheikh, Mama Rashid, he taught me so much and he only follows the Quran and the Sunnah. We have, throughout the last couple of weeks, we have proved without a shadow of a doubt that your spiritual leader was not leading you guys on the right path. This is a clear example of himself involved in something that shows you, one, he has a temper and can't control his anger, right? He can't control his emotions. He divorced his wife 3 times in one go, which Rasul Sallallahu said we can't do, right? We're not allowed to do that. He did it. He himself has punished other people in Tmoa for doing this thing. Did he punish himself for this? Did he pay a fine? Did he take any lashes? Not that I know of. We showed this. We showed that he goes directly against the commands of Rasul Sallallahu. We showed that he's this perfect murshid, right? That is cursed. If he did this, he's cursed. Rasul Sallallahu cursed him. So how can you say my murshid's perfect and he's doing stuff that Rasul Sallallahu said these people are cursed? one thing about, like, we're Sufis, and Sufis are, one of the big things, you stay away from that, anything that's doubtful, right? If one of the analogies that, if a apple falls from a tree and, falls in a stream and gets carried downstream miles away, and this Sufi guy, I don't know the story, but he picks up the apple and he's like, I can't eat it because I don't know if it came from haram or riba or whatever, right? That's how much they stay away from doubtful things. You have this guy who's literally just doing stuff that is haram for his own benefit. So what is it going to take for you people, and I'm talking about Tmoa indoctrinated, Jamatis that want to just ride or die for this? What is it going to take for you to say, yes, something is wrong? Something is not adding up. How much will you defend it? Like, this show was supposed to be about recapping all the bombs that MJ interview dropped. We don't even have time to do it. We don't even have time to do the topics we want to do because y'all literally can't get right. Every day there's something new popping up. Guess what else happened? Guess what else happened? Oh my goodness. Can we talk about what? And that just shows that we don't really have control of what's going on.
The information, I mean, it's just coming in. I mean, this thing, I mean, so much information, and there's more. There's a lot more. But we really, believe it or not, we're going out of our way trying to cause the least amount of damage we can do to these people who are just collateral. I mean, a lady made a comment in the comment section of the video last week, in which she said, commenting on Abu Musa, MJ, Khalifa MJ's statement that one of the reasons why they were the type of marriages were going on or whatever, in which Gillani had married a woman 2 days after she got divorced or whatever, because they were in a non-Muslim country, they were considered, according to Gillani, slaves. So all these black people, why on earth they would accept someone coming after knowing the history of what they lived through, and what their parents surely lived through, to accept being slaves, again, is beyond me. But Islamically, they thought, because Gillani told them this, that they were considered slaves, and that's why he could marry them after 2 days, or he had first dibs on the women, and she made a comment that perhaps if Gillani held this belief and operated according to this, that perhaps this is what he has also taught his children. And maybe that is why they don't have any respect, not all of them, let's not say all of them, but the situation in which we covered, in which the one individual didn't show any respect for the family or the girl or anything, in pursuing her and wanting access to her, asking to marry her without going through not even one of the proper channels in which to do it. But that is what is a precedent that was set by his father. And if his father holds the opinion and belief that these people are in a non-Muslim country and they're basically like slaves anyway, because a person can be a Muslim and still be a slave. You can be a slave and a Muslim. So it's not like a matter of saying, oh, they're not Muslim. No, you're slaves, and a slave is of a lower level. The punishments for slaves is less, and many different things according to slavery. But one thing about a slave is you don't have to marry a slave. You don't even have to marry them. You can free him and marry him if you want to, but you can have access to them without a marriage. You just need to own them. So think about that, and then apply that to how some of these women are treated. I mean, if you actually love your wife or care about her, then to actually ask another man. First of all, how do you ask another man, hey, can you, I mean, that joint is that it takes a really cowardly individual in and of himself. I mean, to actually do that. I mean, and sometimes I get it. And for Mr. Gardner, and let's say allegedly, we got to throw that in there because in this country, people, they try to sue you and stuff like that. So allegedly, for what he engaged in, the pressure that he could have been put under, is there. That's not something that we don't understand because as I got in a conversation with someone before where they're saying there's no compulsion in TMOA. People that want to leave, they can just leave. It's not true. There's lots of compulsion to be in, to stay in, to keep from getting kicked out. If you want to get back in, there's lots of compulsion and pressure put on by Gillani and those people who are in his administration. But if you notice, every person, and I can't take credit for this, I have to give the credit. I believe it was Hanif who said it, but every person who, and it's something that we know, every person who seems to find their way into an honorable or into some sort of high position where you're kind of wondering how, it's usually because some sort of transgression or breach that Gillani has done in order to keep those people pacified or satiated or whatever the case may be. They're given some sort of honorable title. Look at every person. Look at every person, and you can find a direct connection.
Yep. I mean, we can give some examples. I mean, look at what's his name, Abu Bakr, right? He was commanded by Gillani to go blow up a Hindu community center that had women, children, old people, and it had a library and a restaurant connected to it that had other non-Muslims there, right? He got caught. They got sent to jail. Oh, you know what? We're gonna, TMOA, who's against all type of criminal activity. We don't want any criminals. Criminals can't come. If you get arrested for a speeding ticket, you're not allowed on the land anymore, right? Post 9/11, we are just the Amish Muslims, peaceful, no crime, right? This guy does a bid for 20, 30 years, however, for literal terrorism, right? Him and others. And he comes out, what does Sheikh Gillani do? And well, in the meantime, let's appoint his son a Khalifa, hence K2, right? He's married to his daughter. Now she's what? The Imam of TMOA. And then Abu Bakr comes out of jail, and it's not like, oh, we disassociate ourselves from him. He's a terrorist. He's a criminal. No, he's Sheikh al-Islam. What? Right? Look at everybody. Everybody you go down the list of who these honorable people is. Honorable Ibrahim. How did she get honorable? She let the Sheikh marry her young daughter. Then what happened? Her son got made a Khalifa. Her husband is a Khalifa. Khalifa Rashid. Who's his father? He's the one that took the L and took the blame for saying, I forged Sheikh Gillani's signature on the deed that connected TMOA to Al Fukra or MOA to Fukra. So he took the L and then they blamed everything on Khalifa Jamil, who then became the devil of Islamberg, and they stomped his grave. You know what? Let's make his son a Khalifa. Keep going down the line. You're going to find these connections. Look at Matthew Gardner. I guess it's not the only reason why he's PR, the face of TMOA, is he's white. That was one of the big reasons. But oh yeah, that's my dirty man down there that does the dirty stuff for me. So let's make him the mayor.
He was appointed the overseer of Red House Land.
You cannot give a white man the name overseer of a community of black people.
If y'all don't believe that's a true story, go ask anyone in Virginia about him being appointed the overseer of Red House Land. It's a true story.
Does he sit at the top of the road on a horse with a shotgun?
No.
and a whip and a whip.
Yeah. But it's crazy, like the implications of this, and like after MJ's interview, and people have to recognize this, and anybody who's out there giving dawah to these people, we should, if we have friends, loved ones, family members, continue giving dawah, continue trying to reach these people, because you never know what the one thing that will come up that you'll expose to them that will be the turning point, right? I know a lot of people acknowledge that this halal thing, the situation is dirty, bad business, right? So this is why we have to expose it. But keep giving dawah. But now we are at a point, we have proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, every claim that we have made about the teachings, beliefs, and practices of TMOA. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. We say, you guys believe in shirk. No, we don't. We prove that the 7 sultans is complete shirk. If you believe in it, you believe in shirk. You guys committed crimes and killed people. No, we didn't. We just proved that that was the case. We said your sheikh collects millions of dollars and doesn't do anything for the community. We proved that. Like, you can go down the list of everything that we've been saying. What is the one thing that you're going to finally say, you know what, I need to, because there's a hadith. I posted it on the Facebook earlier this week. And the hadith says that Allah I'm paraphrasing, but Allah withholds the wrath from the community until the community sees the wrong happening and they don't do anything about it. That's pretty much the meaning of the hadith. You guys are literally anybody who's watching the show, you were seeing and being proven that all these wrongs are happening. How long do you think Allah will withhold the wrath? This is all building up to something. And we had a little news thing that it's going to end up turning into people wanting to get violent. Nobody from our side, but I'm pretty sure people are going to start wanting to get violent. I'm pretty sure the violence of TMOA is going to start manifesting itself, which puts myself, Amr, Mubarak, anybody else is a known person that gives dawah and speaks out against the wrongs of TMOA. It puts us all in danger. But you can help put a stop by trying to just wake up and just remove yourself and your family away from this situation. Right? Just try to accept the truth. Like, how much are you going to keep denying the truth? It's really ridiculous at this point.
I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the biggest problem with most people is it's not a problem to them until it happens to them. And so for a lot of people, they're viewing it from the outside. Okay, well, that happened to them. Maybe I can't confirm it or not. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they're under this guy's like, okay, well, I'm doing the good thing. And so until it happens to them, until you are the child of the halal marriage, or you are the person involved in it, or you were the girl involved in it, then it happens. Wow, it's crazy. But no, it's happening. Open your eyes, and you're trying to avoid it by just saying it doesn't happen. No, it happens if you just look around. It's plain as day. Most people aren't hiding it. It's just so clear. They tell you openly.
What's that famous quote that it's a famous quote, but it's like basically the guy's like, it happened to so and so, and I didn't think it would happen to me, and I sat by. Then it happens to so and so, and it keeps going down this list of all these atrocities that happened throughout history, and then finally he's like, now it's happening to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like how they say one thing. How they said how the actually they attribute some of the let's just say the mandates that go on that are going on today, attribute to how what happened to the Jews in Europe whenever they had to register, then they had to wear the star or whatever, then they were rounded up, then they had to hide, but they kept thinking, well, we'll just deal with this, and then it'd be they kept thinking, all right, this is as bad as it's gonna get, or they thought, well, we can live like this. And this is the thing, somewhat similar with TMOA. I mean, even if you look at it from every level, the spiritual level, at the very least, even the biggest loyalist has to say, there are some points here where I should look into them very deeply. But it's very clear that it's been disproved on the spiritual level. Your deen, your religion, your akhirah is in serious jeopardy. And we started with that. Then you have what's lower than that is, just your human dignity and your honor, your lineage, and how can you, and for the men, you're men, but how can you really, really, really wake up in the morning as a man, you walk out of your house as a man, and the women, whether it's women in your own family, your own relatives, or the women of your brothers and your friends, the people you know within your community, or your fellow Black women I mean, even on that level, whatever level you need to go to, what is going to make you say, you know what? As men, we can take certain abuses. We can be, dealt with a certain way. But it speaks volumes about men, about how they treat their women and how they let their women get treated.
Mm.
And right now, the red flags, no red flag popped up when your women are being sent overseas, and some of them ain't even coming back. Some of them, I mean, how do you go over to for what? To meet a person who doesn't actually teach anything? They get sent to other places, pretending to go to Azhar and stuff like that.
Serve.
Yeah. So I mean, your women are constantly being treated. Let's be real, like slave women. They're being treated like slaves. And at what point do these men, I mean, the dude is not even alive anymore. At the very least, can one man stand up and say, even if I don't like none of these dudes in R2F, they're this, they're XYZ, deviant XYZ. But one thing we know for sure is that ain't nobody doing no halalas with none of our sisters or mothers or daughters, anything like that. And if anyone knows of a situation, as they say, it's a fade on sight. We're fighting. Win, lose, or draw, we're not letting it go down. Can one man stand up and say, there's no way we'll ever let it go down? Just
What
one.
you mentioned just reminded me of the series is so beautiful because it has all these examples for us to take from. And there's like, how we mentioned that people have a misconception of who Rasulullah actually is, right? They take like a Christian, all forgiving vision of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu. But during the conquest of Mecca, there were certain individuals that were not forgiven. And you could like give me more details. I'm not good at remembering names, but one of them was a poet that consistently wrote vulgar poems about the Muslim women. And that's all he did. And Rasulullah says, you see him, you kill him.
And I believe he was even to the point where, like, if you in the like Masjid al-Haram, it's the Kaaba and the surrounding areas, like haram, because you can't kill anything, all these things are. But the guy, I believe, he was clinging to the clothes of the Kaaba to the point where still that didn't save him. It's like that his disrespect for the women of the Muslims was that was something that was not going to be overlooked, and he was singled out. Find him when you see him, off with his head. He's a goner. So it's like I said, it is a direct reflection of the strength, the ability, the manliness, and them upholding that amana in which Allah has given the men to be the maintainers, the providers, and the protectors of women. In that, when their women are dealt with a certain way, if a person even has the audacity to try it, they are met with a force and an opposition in which, at the very least, the person who transgresses, they say, well, wow, probably should not have tried those people because they're not going to let their women be dealt with in this way. But I mean, come on, somebody.
Look at what these women are doing when they're going over there. We have pictures of women bowing down, kissing his feet, putting their head in his lap as he pats their head. We have people who go over there who cut his toenails, massage his feet, shampoo his hair, cut his hair, trim his beard. You're literally like, to me, like you imagine like Eddie Murphy in Coming to America, where he had these slave women that were just doing everything for him. This is literally what these women are doing when they go over there. And these are people's wives and daughters that you're allowing them to go and do these things. And we're serving our Murshid. Really? He can't comb his own hair. He can't shampoo his own hair. He can't cut his own toenails.
Maybe
his 3 wives and daughters, they can't do these things for him. You need to send for some African-American women to come over here, paying thousands of dollars of other people's money to send them over here to do this for them. come on, get like this. At some point, you guys got to wake up. You know, and one thing I wanted to mention, just real quick, is that for the people that are waking up, and of course, you have the biggest roadblock is you want to maintain your ties and your social connections, but you at least have to remove yourself from the beliefs that are against Islam. You have to remove yourself. You have to at least say, you know what? I do not believe in that anymore. I do not follow that practice. Remove yourself from the shirk and all the innovation. You at least have to do that. If you don't have the means to like say, yo, me and my family are out, at least do that internally within yourself. But I will tell you, everybody I know that has made that mental like switch, Allah does put you in a situation where it's like, yeah, it's time for you to go. It's time for you and your family to go. So just be prepared for that as well.
لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. I'm just I'm really just like drained. I mean, this situation is just like, it's so disturbing. I the normal just I don't know, energy or whatever. I just, it's like it's almost it's surreal. Because I personally myself, I mean, we have 4 daughters, 4 girls. I couldn't imagine. Two sisters. I could not imagine that. You know, I couldn't imagine them telling me, you know, and not me literally not wanting to kill both the people, the man, the billy goat, and the other man. I mean, I don't see any scenario. I mean, I really feel for these women who have had to go through that and endure it. It is it's unfortunate. It really is, and I pray to Allah to protect my daughters and all of the people's listening daughters and all of the Muslim women are around the world that you know that they are honored and protected in the way that they should be, and that no person in the name of Islam or in the name of their lineage or their superiority based on what country they come from or anything is even tries to take advantage of them. And if the slight chance or the possibility that it ever does happen, that those men who are responsible for protecting those women do their job and protect them. May Allah help us to do it. I mean,
I just wanted to, there's one thing I wanted to touch on, because I think when you think about the actual situation with the guy sitting outside the door while the deed's being done, and you know, this is a way that they used to break the male slave spirit, is that they would force them because, you know, according to what we've been reported, allegedly that Matthew Gardner was ordered or commanded to do this. Whether he wanted to do it or whatever, that's beyond the point. But he was commanded to do this. And one of the ways they used to break the slaves is actually make them have sex with the people that they matched them up with, or their wives or whatever, in front of like the overseers. And this would break your spirit, because like this psychologically, there's a certain, and not only the man's spirit, but the woman's spirit. Just think about that. Like, you know, someone's right outside the door. And listen, you guys that are involved in this, you know, the first reaction always is to like reject someone like pulling your coat. It's a natural human reaction. None of us are perfect. We've all made mistakes. We've all have our dirt. We mess up, but you have a chance to change yourself. And if you're not exposed publicly, you know, you have a chance to at least step up and stand against the stuff that you may have been guilty of, you know. So those of you that have been exposed publicly, you should publicly condemn this to try to right this. And just, MJ gave beautiful advice, and this whole thing was supposed to be about MJ. So we're going to try to tie some of this back to what he said. And he gave great advice. and we're talking about like women combing men's hair and all these different things that's going on, halal marriages. And he said, he had a very powerful quote. He said, Prophet Muhammad SAW gives good advice. We should follow his advice. So let's follow that best example and follow that advice that MJ gave us about following what Prophet Muhammad SAW said. You know, and it's funny because my wife had mentioned this. She didn't say the names, but they don't know who they are. She has a Yemeni friend, a friend from Yemen, and she mentioned the halal marriages that take place in the community. And this is what she said. She said, first she made like a weird like what, and then she said, "Are they Shiites? Because Shiites love this." And it ties right into what MJ said last week, that when he was looking at a lot of the practices, he noticed that they're Shiite practices. And Shiites are very big on muta marriages, halal marriages. When are you people going to wake up and realize that we are Sunni Muslims? If you want to say you're Shiite / Sunni, whatever, that's what you want. Okay, we'll leave y'all alone. Y'all got your own religion. Y'all go do that. But if we're saying we're Sunni Muslims that practice and follow the example of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then you got to stop doing this stuff. I'm just going to cover some news and we can kind of take some questions to kind of wrap this up. We're going to have to do the MJ debrief another time. Just in some quick news, I'm pretty sure some of you have heard the rumors or whatever that's gone around. My brother Abdul Kawi was in a little scuffle with K2 or Hussein Adams at Skate Estate. It's funny it was at Skate Estate. Skate Estate plays a lot of haram music and stuff, but I'm not going to get on them for that. But they were in a little scuffle. Just to give a little context to what happens. This is the first time that my brother had encountered or come across K2 since he actually contacted his ex-wife and gave her the command to divorce him 4 years ago. So my brother approached him to have a conversation with him, and nothing really happened. But I just wanted to point out a few things because it gives some context to the cult mentality. You have a leader of Tmoa that we know just maybe a year or two ago, he released a whole audio about how, you know, he wants to, and he advises other people to be smacking people like myself, like my brother, like Mubarak, or anybody else that speaks out against Tmoa, right? That he's this big bad bully guy I'm going to be smacking these dudes in their face, right? So he actually encounters somebody directly face to face, and my brother went up to him, gave him salams, and K2 happily returned his salams. Oh, alaikum salam, right? I guess he thought he didn't know what type of situation was going on. But my brother, he realized very quickly that my brother was trying to have a conversation with him and basically confront him about, you know, inappropriately enticing his wife to divorce him. And then he was really submissive. And I'm not going to go through all the back and forth, but he was really submissive and he denied everything. He denied stuff that we already even have him on audio and have receipts from him saying. He denied that he ever declared my brother an enemy of the Jama'ah or any of Ahl Bayt. He denied that he ever texted or called or contacted his ex-wife. He was just denying everything, right? So, and really the reason why it escalated is because K2, he really thought he was still on the land because he was giving commands to my brother. You need to leave. You need to stop talking to me. Get out of here. Go away. Like he was like still his Khalifa. And it's very funny because these people, like he's a cult baby. He's born and bred in this. He really thinks like he is what he is in this little bubble of Tmoa. But you are in the real world and he's still acting like he's the Khalifa of the world, right? Telling people to go, leave me alone. You got to leave here. And he really got upset because my brother just really wasn't listening to him. At one point, he actually, if anybody knows, it's a very famous incident where Matt Barnes gets a little scuffle with Kobe Bryant, and then Matt Barnes tries to throw the ball in Kobe's face, and Kobe doesn't even move. He actually flinched at my brother to try to like scare him, and my brother was like, "What are you doing?" And then there was actually like teenagers around, and they started busting out laughing at him because it was just so awkward, right? So long story short, they're going back and forth. My brother brought out his phone to kind of record him. I'm pretty sure he thought he was going to be put on R2F, so he smacked the phone out of my brother's hand. One of his son-in-laws or his son-in-law tried to jump in, and those little back and forth, pushing and shoving, and that was pretty much the incident. But it's not really newsworthy, but I just wanted to point out that these people, like, it's cowardly to me. It's really cowardly to me to be a person that you are. Before Mubarak Gillani passed away, you were like number 2. K2 is literally this like number 1 guy, right? That we have audios of you calling people enemies of Ahl Bayt, of the Jamaat. We have text messages of you doing everything that we know that you do and believe in. And then when someone actually comes to your face and asks you about something that you supposedly believe, you don't even have the courage to say, yeah, I said that. Yeah, this is what I believe. Why? It's either because you're a straight up coward or you know something's wrong with it, that you can't even get the cojones to say, yeah, I believe you're an enemy. Yeah, I told your wife to divorce you. Right? If you believe it's right, why wouldn't you stand behind it? Right? And it's just another example of this. It's just all this stuff is a bunch of malarkey. It's just bullcrap. Wake up to the reality of what you guys are dealing with. Your leaders are not educated in Islam. And then I'll add this. I forgot to add this part. He did smack the phone out, and he tried to sucker punch my brother. I don't know if he connected or not. My brother's totally fine anyway. But he left. Then he got in his car and drove away. Then what does he do? He calls if anybody knows this, the LBs. Right? Yes. So a bunch of LBs, or the disposable, non-thought about Jamaat members, come to go deal with his beef. So now think about what he's calling these people into. There could be a fight. Someone could get seriously hurt. Somebody could have a weapon. Someone can get shot. There's cops there now involved. People can get arrested. He calls these people, like, usually like if everybody's been in the streets, or I'm not saying I'm from the streets, but I've been in fights and stuff, right? You go call the boys. You go back to the fight with your boys, right? So imagine me, right? I'm like, yo, Amr, Mubarak, yo, I just got in a fight. Y'all need to go to Skate Estate. You're like, what do you mean go? Don't you mean come? No, y'all go.
I'm gonna be at the house.
I'm at the house chilling. Let me know if you're okay.
Yeah, so it's like I just want a message to these guys, because I used to be friends with some of these guys that came there to do whatever they were doing. Think about yourself for a second. How expendable are you? How much are you cared for that someone put you in your life at risk, and then he just went home to his warm whatever he lives in? Are you valued? Are your kids worth that? Is your wife worth that? Are your families worth that? For what? Because he got in a shoving match with somebody that he had a disagreement with? I mean, just think about that.
And on top of this, but flip it around the other way. If you, LB 1, 2, 3, and 4, or however many it was, if one of you got in a shoving match with someone at Skate Estate, and then you called K2 to come deal with them while you went home, how do you think that would go? Would they do the same for you? And that's the thing, it's like, hey, I'm doing this, and a lot of people say, I'm doing this because I know they would do the same for me. I mean, do you really know? I mean, do you really believe? I think we know the answer, but did you believe at any moment? Did that cross your mind? Would this Negro do the same thing for me? I think you have a clear track record of, as far as Tmoa, it goes one way. The favors and the loyalty and the money and goes one way. So just think about that. You know what I mean? Your loyalty should be, honestly, I would say you should have more loyalty to the people you see on this screen right here, because we're really trying to help you in something that matters more than anything else. And we're actually making a sacrifice for it. our time, our things that we could be doing. You know, people. I mean, some people. I mean, literally just hate us. I mean, sometimes I can feel, I can feel the haters just like my back of my neck. Like I just know there's people that are just seething like this. Man, I just want to strangle this dude. But
Especially
you
in the
know,
comments.
yeah, I already know. I already know that. And I was just thinking. I was just looking at my protection devices and some of my security systems and some of my well, it's an open carry state now in Tennessee. So yeah, I was really looking at some of my guns today just because I said, I should make sure. But here I am, with 8 children, and I don't think any of them uh, are for them to, even if their father gets hurt or goes to jail or something, it's not worth any of these people who are against me. But still, I am doing this and putting some of these things on the line, and we all are to different degrees depending on what we have going on. But we all are doing this, simply trying to help. No one's paying us. We're not getting any money. I mean, literally, we're not making a dime. I mean, so just think about that.
Yeah, I just hope these people just start seeing these things that are coming up and just start thinking more. Just turn the critical. And that was going to be one of our interviews that we're going to do that we were going to do today, is talk about the positive benefits of critical thinking. Allah tells us in the Holy Quran so many times, think. Why don't you think? Why don't you use your heads? We have to think. So when you're in these situations, and I want to be a person that, like, if I don't want anybody in R2F to think that we're ever calling for anybody to commit any type of violence, but you always should be able to defend yourself. I wonder if the leaders of Tmoa would say the same thing to their followers. But no, they would hope someone, is rogue enough to hurt one of us or do something to us, and then they'll step back and say, we have nothing to do with them. They did this on their own. They won't even bail you out of jail.
They'll probably kick that person out of the Jamaat and, all types of things, disassociate, all that stuff. But still, they will take the benefit and reap the benefit of what you've done. I mean, look at how many things. I mean, there's people have built masjids, or at least half built them, donated their money, paid for the lands and different things, and can't even be buried there. Some of these people, literally their name is the name on the property, and you're saying, oh, they can't. You know what I mean? It's like, so just keep these things in mind, man. I really, 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 really hope that some of these things, especially what was mentioned tonight, at the very least, somebody, and always, someone always does. This is the thing. For the people that think, oh, we're just looking, searching, no, man, listen. People just tell us, they bring us this information, and guess what? After every show, more and more information, and people come out, and people, and it's gonna come next week. Probably whatever we plan to get to, we won't get to, because after this, the flood of more people and stories and accounts and corroborations and witnesses will come forth, and we'll have to deal with something even more. What we hope is that everyone says, or it really just takes one or two of the leaders to say, you know what, we've been had. You know what I mean? And I was part of that, and I'm sorry, it's over. Let's just be Muslim. Let's just be Muslim and practice the Sunnah. And the thing is, that would be enough to, inshallah, not only rectify the wrongs that were done, but it will turn into a net positive. How many more generations of people will come after the ones here living now that will be beneficiaries, recipients of being brought up and raised upon and living and inshallah dying upon Tawheed and believing in Allah and the Quran and practicing the Quran and Sunnah alone and leaving shirk behind. I mean, that in and of itself is enough for one of you people that are in leadership that knows, because I know that you know that the time is now. And so to just say and do, and maybe it might be a little embarrassment, but guess what? This is the thing. Everybody actually knows. They just are afraid to, some are afraid to come out, some are benefiting, so they don't want to say. But as soon as a few you just say, hey, that's what it is. And then your community, get with the people, come together, strengthen your community on Quran and Sunnah, and inshallah it'll be beneficial.
Yeah. And I just wanted to mention again, because the whole thing about the LBs coming there or these goons coming there to do something and talking about how they would be forgotten, kicked out the Jamaat. Look at the example we talked about earlier in the show about the brother who was in Pakistan for 20, 30 years, killed people for Mubarak Gillani, on the run for 20, 30 years. And he actually, even while he was in Pakistan, he gave blood to Mubarak Gillani's father, donate like blood transfusion, right? And then your kids, like, imagine yourself in this situation, because now you're not going to be able to escape to Pakistan. It's not like back in wherever the times that he somehow made it to Pakistan. You're not going to be able to go nowhere. You're right. You're just going to be on the run, living like a bum somewhere in the United States hidden. They're not going to honor you. They're going to disown you. And your children are not going to know about you. They're not going to look at these children that we're talking about. And I was incorrect. It's not 9 children. I heard it's 11 children that don't know where their father is, alive or dead. So at this time, I'd like everybody just to keep this family in their du'as, make dua that they get the information they need so that their children and his ex-wives can get closure in the situation, so that they can know whether he's alive, if he's alive, that they can somehow get in contact with him. If he's dead, if they can be made aware of where his grave is so that they can visit him. Like, imagine having someone, your parent, that you don't know where they're buried. Just imagine that for a second. So I want everybody to keep them in their duas for as long as you can remember them. If you could, tonight, if you didn't make Isha already, make it at Tahajjud, Fajr. Remember these people in your duas. And if you have any information, you can even contact them anonymously. You can contact us anonymously. Give us the information. If you know about this alleged picture that's going around with him in the background, send it to us. We're not going to expose you. We're really seriously just trying to help this family member. And they don't even know we're trying to help them. We just heard of their situation and we want to help them. They might even think we're enemies and be mad at us for bringing this up, but we're seriously just trying to help them and get them some closure or information for their father. So keep them in your duas, please.
I mean,
Do
man,
we have any questions?
that was something I was thinking about
No,
mentioning,
no.
but I can't remember now. Let's see.
If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chats.
Let's run through and see if there's any question. This was a sobering episode for me, man. I man. I didn't think it would have this much of such a weight on my heart, but for many reasons. But it's the women have to be, for those fathers, at the very least, the fathers, the people who have the daughters, do your job. Let's all do our jobs. And, if you find me slipping or lacking, then by all means, hold me accountable. And I would definitely, inshallah, if I'm able, do the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, one question someone asked, has anyone slapped K2? Not that I know of. I don't think he's ever been in a real fight in his life, so I doubt that's ever happened.
If he goes to jail for K2, don't call him. All right. He's not gonna answer the phone. I promise you. You can call him like shake.
Just to give some context to that, right? So we heard a story or incident where K2 like to escort the women to go to overseas, and the women always carry money. And back in the day, they used to carry a lot of money, even more over the limit, because it was more free. But one of these ladies, you know, as K2 and the rest of them are escorting him through like the, you know, the security and all that, she gets stopped and the guard's like, why do you have $40,000 in cash on you? Right. And she starts getting questioned. They're trying to explain and, you know, going back and forth. And as they looked around, K2 disappeared like a ninja. He was gone. Right?
Wow.
He was gone. So he's going to do the same thing. Like, yeah, go handle that. Go beat up this guy that was not listening to my orders and that was recording me. And yeah, you go to jail and then I'll kick you out the Jamaat. You know, maybe I'll marry your wife and take care of your
Shame on
kids.
you.
That's like, yeah.
Wow. So the lady, listen, you getting caught up going through customs and airport security. That's like, man, listen, straight away. You know, I mean, it is the mercy of Allah that I was born later. Because if I had, you know, I may have been one of those people who, if my daughters were older, that at one point in my life when I was on the juice, I would have been like, you know, it'd have been an honor to send my daughter over. But as soon as she said, yo, bro, I'm going to be carrying this money or whatever, I said, nope, because that's the thing. That would have been the thing where I'm like, nah, I know what happens to people, you know, that you know, that is a situation that you will not do. Murshid or not, you're not gonna go. So it's alhamdulillah. I just it's maybe we came about at the right time, not too early, not too late, but at the time where we had enough to help some people, and alhamdulillah, we've helped a lot of people. But you know, not to the point where we were so far gone that we, you know, didn't have any connections to reach back. So alhamdulillah.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Mubarak. It said, hold on one second. Let me get it again. So when you mentioned that a person is accursed for claiming lineage, the wrong lineage, right? How does that apply in like an adultery situation where they say that the son takes the lineage of the woman's father? And the actual biological father claiming, I know there's like a gray area in there. How do you explain that to people?
The child is attributed to the mother, so but not the father. And there are some people that these days have made some different you know, cases about, well, in these days, especially when people come from a non-Muslim environment into being Islam, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, if you were not Muslim before that doesn't apply. I mean, it's not, you know, but this is for an Islamic environment. Muslims, this person, he had an illegitimate child. Technically, according to hadith, is that the fornicator, the man, he doesn't have any rights to inheritance. He can't inherit from that child, and that child cannot inherit from him. This is a deterrent for the mother, so that the mother doesn't sleep with someone because she's not going to get any maintenance from that man. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the things that the women, I mean, back then and even today, you're not taking care of his responsibilities. He needs to pay for his kids, XYZ. Well, Islamically, that's on you, lady. Don't spread your legs and have any kids if you are not going to make sure that person has married you. If you decide to commit adultery, he's going to get, you know, stoned to death. If he is married, he's going to get lashed and banished from the community if he is unmarried. And the woman, if she carries a child, she is going to have to, via her family members or a charity or however case, or got to work or do whatever she got to do to support that child. But the man will not be financially responsible. So it is, people say, well, why is, you know, no, the woman has a responsibility to make sure, just like the man, that, hey, have a legit marriage. And then if it's legitimate, everybody knows those two people are married. If a child comes after that, whether it's divorce or whatever, they're gonna track the guy down and make sure he pays for his child.
And then, and like you said, I think the emphasis is on the legal aspect of it, as far as like inheritance and maintenance and stuff like that. But as far as like, it's not like that child is not the father's son, because he still can't marry the father's other kids, daughters, and those types of things. It's not like he just
Yeah.
totally cut off. It's more like a legal separation of, this is not his son. He cannot inherit. They cannot inherit from each other.
Mhm.
He takes the, those types of things.
So when they call it, they say the mahramiyya. The mahramiyya is all those people who are haram for that woman to marry. And so regardless of that, still, that father is still, that even if the child is, say if it's a woman, she still would be in a certain category of inheritance. But as far as that is concerned, his sons would be, they couldn't marry her. So if he had other sons, legitimate or illegitimate, they could not marry the daughter of that person. And all up and down the line, his father, his father, his sons above him and below him, his lineage would be fall in the same category as him, the men.
We have another question that says, or just the sister pointed out, does that indicates a lack of protection? Again, who puts women in that position to carry cash that's unaccounted for? Yeah, exactly. Like, you got, it reminds you literally, like if you watch any type of drug movie or whatever, this is literally what they used to do, especially back in the day. They used to take money and put money in their underwear and stuff. Because back then they actually didn't search Muslim women, because like, oh, I'm Muslim, you can't search me and this and that. And they didn't have female guards and stuff. They would just let them go, and they'd be carrying tens of thousands of dollars, right? But then they started cracking down on that, and now the limit is nine. Now they carry $9,999 in cash, because that's the limit.
And this is the thing for all those people, for all the people, ask yourself this, and ask yourself this.
Oh yeah, Allah. All right.
You know what I mean?
God, I hate you too, bro. I can't stand you.
Oh, let me finish my point before we.
We have to end the show after this. We have to end the show.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Allah.
I had a very good point that I was about to make. Let me make this point. For all you people. For all of you people that have daughters or friends or family members or whoever who have been sent overseas, ask them, did you carry money? The answer will be, for the most part, yes. Okay, ask them, did you carry money? And then the question is, why does so much money have to leave the US when all the people are here? And is any money coming back? I mean, that's a legitimate question. I think we've gone over the money aspect and how so much money goes over, but think about it. Putting young ladies in danger of being arrested, detained, and all types of other things for money. It's just like a mule. That's what you do with a mule. You load them up with goods, and if one dies along the way or it gets maimed or whatever, you take that load off that mule, put it on another, and go on about your business. That's why old boy dipped when old girls got, why do you have this much money? Hey, old boy just disappeared, just poof, in thin air, he's gone. Expendable, just like a slave, you're expendable. We'll get another one. We'll have another batch, another trip go over. More money anyway. It's not like we did anything for the money. They're paying it. More money will come in.
And the tie to what you just said, another question is, were any campuses built with all that cash, and do you have any addresses for the campuses? So again, yeah, no money. And this is I want to point this out, because when we bring up the money issue, apologists say Mubarak Gillani was rich and his family is rich and he has his own money. Then why are they begging you money to build his grave? Why, when his big family that has all these money say, yeah, our big bad sheikh, right? Our big great whatever you want to call him, died. Why are all the African American talibs the only ones paying for this? Right? He's the Mujaddid of the century. He has talibs in Africa, Asia, Europe. He has thousands and thousands of followers. Why isn't the message American talibs are going to raise 50,000? The Asian talibs are going to raise 50,000. The European talibs are going to raise 25,000. Why? Because they don't exist. Why isn't his family paying for his grave? Because he doesn't have any money. They need all the money from you. And it's so bad that they won't even take it from your membership dues that you're paying, because that's paying their salaries. They're fighting over that. So they're just going to, hey, give us some more money so we can build this thing. And I'm going to make a prediction. Another prediction. It will never be completed. Never. Never.
You know what? It has a better chance of getting completed than any of these masajid around here that are all half done.
That is true. That is true. I can't read the one question. I just can't. I can't read the other
No,
question.
we definitely can't beat that. We should just end the show.
John Cena is a menace, man.
Yo, what's the move he did? What is the special move, like an F6 or something he used to do? Or but he just came in the room and just dropped that joke. He just came and power bombed the room.
Now.
Hey man, listen. Oh boy, carefully selected.
Sniper. That was a sniper move right there. All right. You know what,
Hey,
John
look.
Cena, I'm mad at you because we were doing so
I know.
well.
We hadn't laughed at all, really. The
We
whole
were doing
show.
so good. We were doing so good. And then
Hey,
John Cena came out
man.
sniping.
Listen, man. What's her name? I was talking to just saw me. Oh my goodness, your brother, man, Kawa is just too much, man. He called me today. Oh my God, I can't even say on air, but oh my God,
I can only imagine.
literally, some of that stuff came back into mind. I mean, they're talking about I can't even.
Well,
I'm not
just to segue off this into something more serious. We will be talking about, and we mentioned before in our previous videos, is that there is a strong culture of colorism in Tmoa, and it comes from the top. So I have no doubt in my mind that one of the reasons why the only white brother in the Jamaat was selected to do this could possibly deal with the color of his skin. So just think about that. And we'll have plenty of examples. Like, for instance, when some of the ladies are over there in Pakistan, is that when Shahsab or Sheikh Gillani would have guests come over, he would actually put the dark sisters in the back room, right? And then have the light-skinned sisters out in the front with the guests, serving them and talking to them, because colorism. So yeah, it is. There's a heavy racist element involved in all of this. So I have no doubt that had a big part to play in why he won the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
It was one on Twitter.
My man scoured the whole Jamaat. I mean, looking for
gotta be one column. One of you gotta be not black.
No, not him, not that, not him.
You will pass, but not you. He personally recruited him himself. He's like, you're the one, mashallah.
No, we gotta get off. We gotta get off.
And he was still
Fucking terrified. Yo,
hey, listen. Listen, we gotta get off. We gotta
Yeah, we
stop.
gotta get
We
off.
gotta stop. This
All right,
is
all
really
right.
get out of hand, man. We were gonna
Mubarak,
blame
close
this
us out.
on John Cena. We're gonna blame this on John Cena for sure. John Cena
Yes.
needs to be blocked from the comment section because we we specifically were planning to be very, very, very serious on this, and
Edit this out.
we
Yeah.
gotta cut this. We gotta cut
Yeah.
this job, man, because we don't.
Edit this out.
We definitely cannot, and we don't want to make light.
You done yet?
All right, Mubarak, close us out, please.
All right, close this out.
Mm. Okay.
Oh,
Before we wrap up, let's
All right, go ahead, go ahead.
let's recap, please. That we definitely need to make sure that people take these things very seriously. It's in our nature. We do laugh a lot, as we have to say almost after every show. We have to apologize for our laughter. It may be a little overboard, and we don't mean to make light of this situation and of these things that have taken place. They're very serious. So think critically. The people who are on the fence or firmly in the Gillani camp or whatever, these are serious things that take place, and we should take them seriously. Try to think. Take your Gillani tinted glasses off and really think about the ahadith that we have brought and the dalil from the Islam, from the sources of al-Islam, and then make your decision based off that. Because there are more than just people's lives, but their akhirah is at stake here. So also the brother who Jafar mentioned twice already, his family. If you have any information about this that can help this family get some closure and some help for this, please do so. If you have any questions, comments, or if you need help with some of the things that we have discussed and talked about today, we will, and we have already kept people anonymous. We have kept people out of it, even though we could have dragged people through the mud today. We went out of our way to make sure not to mention some names, except for those names who needed to be mentioned. So if you are needing help with anything that we have discussed today, we will try our best to help you, or we will do whatever we need to do to direct you to those people who surely can help you. I have right now in which I can get on the phone shuyukh, people who have legit 30 plus years of studying and learning and teaching Islam, legit shuyukh, PhDs and things, where they literally are scholars of Islam, and they can, if I cannot help you, or if we cannot help you, they can. We take it above our heads to those people who know more, and that I will, even if you don't feel comfortable dealing with us, I can connect you directly to them, and they can and they will deal with your situation directly and anonymously if you need the help. But don't hesitate, because some of the subject matter that we mentioned today is very serious, and it will have an effect on your akhirah, because now that you know, you have to take some sort of action. So
And I'll just throw in there real quick that we also, there's, a female might not feel comfortable talking to a man. We have women you could speak to directly. You don't have to talk to us. We can put you in contact with some females. We know of services that offer free counseling and these sorts of things. So if you need any help at all, just don't let Shaitan prevent you from seeking that help. We're here, and there's other people here, not just us. Like, you might be a total Jamadi that still believes in everything and denounces everything else we're saying. Well, when it comes to this type of stuff, we can point you in a direction of some resources that you can get that's outside of anything that we're doing. So take advantage of that.
Okay. Okay. I think that's sufficient. We good?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum salam.